Greetings all, thedvsmonkey here. Earlier today, I went into the Nature Center with my trusty, handy, loving Sony ZV1 in order to conduct a test. I wanted to try out this gyro stabilization that all the kids are talking about, and I thought that would be perfect since I had to go over there to run an errand, and I was right there. It's the perfect place to do a stabilization test because it's treacherous back there. There's a lot of rocks, a lot of sand, a lot of tree roots, you name it. So it's really tough to walk around and keep all this stuff steady. So what I did was I walked around and I got like 2 different clips. The first one was like 2 minutes and 52 seconds. So I came home, I pulled it into Catalyst browser, and I did what I needed to do to get that thing stabilized. And it basically, once you do the stabilization, once it figures it out and it pulls everything the way that it needs to pull it, then it crops way in. So you have to pull it back out in order to get, something usable. I put it at about 75%. So there ended up still being a crop from the original stuff that I did. Long story short, there's no way I'm doing this. It took over 45 minutes to render that 2 minutes and 52 seconds. And it really didn't stabilize it any more than using the active stabilization. There's no way that I'm going to be adding that kind of time to my workflow. It's tough enough to sit down and do these every day, but it was a 2 minute and 52 second clip. I can blather on for shit. Well, I could blather around for a long time, but I usually end up cutting everything down to at least below 15 minutes, like 10 to 15 minutes on average. Jesus, we're talking like an hour, 2 hour render time, and that's before I even edit anything. So I'm going to say that while it's a neat concept, for what I do, gyro stabilization using their Catalyst browser is just not a viable solution for me. And on top of which, you had to crop it in to probably just as much as the active stabilization crops in camera, and it looked about the same. It wasn't any better for me now. Get a better filmmaker out there that's doing a more important project, not just blathering into the camera like me, then it might be worth it, especially if they took a little bit more time and they knew what they were doing. But also you have to crank up your shutter speed and you lose the natural motion blur, and then all the pixel peepers will be whining about how your footage looks like shit. So for me, it's just not worth it. And I'm not going to be using the gyro stabilization through Catalyst browser anymore. Just wanted to try it out. And I wanted to shoot this at the beginning because I didn't want you to have to watch like the full 2 minutes and 52 seconds of that. So I'm going to show you what that footage looks like right now. And then I'll cut to the second clip that I shot while I was still in that area with like a final wrap up. And just say that, again, gyro stabilization that you can use on the ZV1 and I think the A7S III for me is not worth it. Just keep in mind that you're going to get a pretty decent crop when you use it, and the render times can take a long time. You might decide it's not worth it. So check out the footage, see what you think, drop me a comment, and we'll pick this back up in the other final clip. Greetings all, thedvsmonkey here. Today, I'm going to be shooting footage on my Sony ZV1 without any stabilization. This is going to be perfect because with each breath I take, I can see that the camera's jiggling. And that's the kind of stuff that Catalyst browser with gyro stabilization is supposed to fix. I think I'm just going to end the video right here and say you see what it looked like. You're going to have to decide whether or not having image stabilization on, having the steady shot set to standard, which probably isn't enough, and then active, and getting a crop in and losing some of your screen real estate probably to the point of like this, whether that's good for you or whether or not you want to keep stabilization off, which it has to be off if you're going to use that gyro stabilization stuff with the Catalyst browser to fix it in post. So you have to decide if doing that. So no stabilization, pulling all your footage into Catalyst browser, fixing it, then exporting it to whatever you're using, me, Final Cut Pro, and then doing your video. So that adds, you know, I mean, that adds time because you have a bunch more steps to deal with. And you're still going to get cropped in a little bit. You can sort of pull it out a little bit, but you're still getting a crop in order to get stable footage. So all that stuff being said, you're going to have to decide which you want to do, what makes most sense for your workflow, and kind of go from there. But again, to each their own. So good luck with that. Let me know if you have any questions. As always, thanks for joining me. Like, subscribe, and all that shit. And remember, kids, forward and up.